Hello all, and welcome to tonight's whiskey review. First one in God knows how many months. Mostly because I haven't been being paid much. And somebody left a comment a little while ago saying that they wanted me to go and review Eagle Reserve. I haven't found any place that sells Eagle Reserve in Hawaii. Looked up some reviews of it. It sounds like a very interesting whiskey to go and try, but until I can find it, well, we'll have to do with what we got here. And what I can afford, really. So I'm really happy to be reviewing this one. This is one I've been wanting to review for a while. This is Knob Creek Straight Bourbon Whiskey. Small batched, aged 9 years, 100 proof. That's 50% ABV for you beer drinkers out there. So a little bit about this one. This one is made by the same people who make Jim Beam. It uses the same Jim Beam yeast, Jim Beam bottling facilities. It's a fairly high rye bourbon. I can't remember what the mash bill is exactly. The rye is either 28% or 32%. Corn, of course, being around 51%, and barley making up the rest of the share. Made by Jim Beam, but, you know, obviously, with being that this is their top shelf entry, with perhaps a little bit more care. So, of the top shelf bourbons, this is the cheapest of the top shelf bourbons, price-wise. It clocks in about $30 for you mainlanders, a little bit more for us here in Hawaii, but still fairly affordable. Well, I guess if you make more money than I do. I mean, this right here costs about 3 to 4 hours worth of work for me, so that's why you don't see me reviewing it much. So, why don't we get to it then? Have me a regular glass here. Have me a glass with just a bit of water already in there. So we have a dash of water. I know you're supposed to add it after. I'm just going to swirl it a bit and you should do the same. Whew, it just smells so lovely. I forgot how much I love whiskey. And I did a boo-boo, spilled a little bit on the carpet, but that's okay. You shouldn't have any trouble finding this. This is sold wherever all good whiskeys are sold. Probably on the top shelf. So, here we have the full strength here. Here's one with a dash of water. You can see, well, probably not in this lighting, but this one's slightly lighter. So this one's a nice copper orange. So it's primarily orange with big copper red highlights to it. This is a nice, almost honeyed orange. So orange with yellow highlights instead of red. Let's go and look at the noses here. Oh, God, it's so good to smell bourbon again. Getting hints of, like, dried orange peel. Big vanilla, big woodiness. Lots of nice citric tannic notes. Hints of maple syrup. There's this lovely creaminess to it. Honeysuckle. See if it changes any with the addition of water here. This one's a little bit on the hot side smelling. Should kind of expect for about 100 proof. Even a little bit of water seems to have thinned out the smell quite a bit. Smell a lot more of the wood and vanilla. Basic, your basic bourbon notes with the water added. Speaking of, I forgot to go and fill my thing up with water. I'll be right back. It's important to keep the water there. Important to keep the water, to alternate in between water and whatnot, in between the two, so you don't get sort of cross-contamination. Let's go and give a nice close-up since it's, like that. Okay. Just initially, what grabs you is this lovely butteriness. This buttery creaminess, melted butter creaminess to the palate. It just feels so nicely. It just feels so nicely on it. I almost want to say oily, but oily doesn't convey that sort of niceness that butter does. Buttery, like biting into corn on the cob. So it's got that really sensation of corn on the cob, but not much of the corniness. Got some corn there, of course, being that this is a bourbon, but instead you're getting this great oakiness, vanilliness in the mid. Then this very nice charred wood finish that lasts and lasts. And underneath that charred wood is a hint of pepper. So you get a little bit of, that full rye bill there. I mean, that, pretty high rye bill. In the front, lots of this nice honeyed sweetness. When it kicks into that charred wood thing, you almost think of barbecue. You're just kind of missing out on that savory pork there. Just the mouthfeel on this is amazing. I can't get over the mouthfeel. It just feels so good on the mouth. Let's go and see what the watered version does, huh? A lot of that richness is removed, so that lovely butteriness that I really liked is sort of gone, yet the sweetness is kind of amped up a bit. So, in regards to taste, that sweetness sort of lasts through the entire, from start to finish, and the charredness of the finish there, that is even more lasting. Kind of, well, I'm not going to say overly bitter, because I actually kind of like it. I'm an IPA drinker. Some people might not like it. But you almost get very much this charred sugar sort of, charred sugar, cooking caramel, overcooked caramel kind of taste in that finish there. Still lots of vanilla. You also got much more stronger citrus hints. Sharpness of it almost makes it seem more like a citron than citrus. What I like is that it's really holding out. Still got a lot of complexity there, and it did exactly what a good whiskey should do when you add a splash of water. It unfolds, it adds a new dimension to itself. It doesn't just become a diluted version of its full strength self. So, while there is a lot of relation, of course, adding that water, just boom, a different dimension opened up right there. That said, nothing can really beat the mouthfeel that I find in this lovely coating, enveloping, tongue-enveloping mouthfeel. Sensuousness of the full strength. Some might find the full strength a little bit on the hot side. There is, yeah, I would say that there's a little bit of hotness there, but it's very well compensated for by the intensity of the taste and by the complexity of the taste. Depends on your sensitivity to hotness. It's not a burning sort of hotness. It just reminds you that it is basically 50% alcohol right there. So, what can I say about Knob Creek? Well, it's I would have to say I still like what's his name? Elijah Woodhill. Elijah Woodhill's still my number one, but this has kicked Wild Turkey 101 off to become my number two for now. Why do I still like Elijah Woodhill? Well, it's because that stuff is like drinking orange juice, man. You can't go and beat the smoothness of that whiskey. Speaking of, I need to go and buy myself another bottle of that whenever I come into money. But, but, you know what? This is an awesome bourbon. It's a top shelf bourbon. Excuse me. And it's one that you really ought to try if you're going to be a bourbon whiskey drinker. God knows I am. And I forgot the rest of what I was going to say. I'm getting a little bit whiskey brain right now. Got whiskey on my brain. So, do yourself a favor and try it. It's only $30. And that's your whiskey review for tonight, folks. And damn good one it was. Got a job interview tomorrow. Hopefully I get a new job, one that pays a little bit better, allows me to drink a little bit better. And that's all that she wrote tonight, folks. Cheers.